Anyway.
Yeah, and as you say, you refer to the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda, they're not as influential as they were, but they haven't gone away. They still pose a security threat. We're seeing increasing activity in Africa particularly, and French intelligence services pointing out in recent weeks that the epicenter of this kind of terrorism threat, it's now moving towards West Africa and other places in the Sahel.
Oh, absolutely.
So how might that threat evolve, do you think? And how really can authorities, particularly here in Europe or in the US, what can they actually do?
Well, I would submit, a direct link between a terrorist group like ISIS or Al-Qaeda, their capabilities to project an image of success and durability vis-a-vis their activities in places like West Africa. So there's a direct link between that and their powers of persuasion over the internet, vis-a-vis their reach into the West over the internet in various platforms. So basically, there's the old adage that people give to winners: success breeds success. And when they can project that image of strength in various areas in West Africa, that resonates in the minds of would-be terrorists here in the West who might endeavor to go out and demonstrate their support for these groups and their global causes and their ongoing infighting to achieve dominance in a wider global jihadist movement by doing things like perpetrating attacks. And so, there has to be sort of the simultaneous focus on blunting their maneuverability, their momentum in places like West Africa, at the same time that you're trying to blunt and degrade their capabilities to engage with audiences here in the West directly over the internet on, again, a variety of different platforms and different spaces of the cyber domain.
And we can presume that jihadists, they've benefited from, for example, the fall of Bashar al-Assad and the chaos that we saw in Syria last year. But many jihadists, we're hearing, they've also relocated to places like France since the fall of ISIS. But their networks and their activities, they're also very difficult to monitor, aren't they?
I think that it is the case that many intelligence agencies here in the West have become particularly good at identifying sympathizers of ISIS and Al-Qaeda. I do think that there remain some opportunities to recalibrate certain policies in ways that can allow for greater disruptive capabilities. The new policies that exist, or newer policies that have existed in France, are a step in the right direction. And I would encourage other European governments to look carefully at opportunities to do things that ensure that internal protocols which govern the operations of intelligence agencies, law enforcement agencies, are attuned to the threat environment. I think that history illustrates that it can be the case that senior decision makers in governments might come to a different view of the threat environment than the actual senior counterterrorism analysts who are the top subject matter experts on ISIS or Al-Qaeda. The perfect example of evidence of that would be Barack Obama as president saying days before the Paris attacks that ISIS was a quote-unquote JV team. That was evidence that while there were people at CIA who were very much focused on the very real potential of an expanded ISIS set of operations in Western Europe, that viewpoint was not either making it adequately to the president's ears and eyes, or it simply was something that his internal policy advisors were not sufficiently attentive to in a way that could help that set of analytic judgments persuade different views of the group, and with that, different policies that perhaps could have helped to have more effectively mitigated threats like what we saw in 2014 through 2017. And what we continue to see today in different forms that are perhaps less concretely linkable to a controlling figure in Islamic State or Al-Qaeda than what you saw with the Paris attacks in particular. But the threat remains very real. These organizations are demonstrating a durability that poses a significant challenge for global security and is likely to for many years to come.
Michael S. Smith, terrorism analyst, thanks so much for being with us on the programme this evening.